Hello everyone, welcome back at Literature Hub. In today's video, I'll be discussing about Elizabethan Sonneteers. So first we will take a look at Italian or Petrarchan Sonnet, then we will talk about Elizabethan Sonnet, then we will look at Italian and English rhyme scheme together, and then I'll be discussing about main contributors of Elizabethan sonnets. So Italian sonnet was formed by Francesco Petrarch. We know him as Petrarch. Sonnet is a literary form that comes into subcategory of poetry. It is a sort of poetry which has 14 lines. So Italian sonnet is divided into two parts, octave and sestet. So what is octave? So first 8 lines of sonnet are called octave and remaining of the 6 lines are called sestet. So octave contains two quatrains, means each stanza has 4 lines equal to 8 lines, and sestet contains two tercet or sometimes 3 couplets, means each stanza has 3 lines in tercet. So Italian sonnet rhymes as A B B A B B A C D E C D E. So it is a rhyme scheme of Italian sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet. Petrarch composed 317 sonnets approximately, and these sonnets were dedicated to his beloved Laura. In Italy, Dante also wrote 51 sonnets, and these 51 sonnets were dedicated to his beautiful beloved Beatrice. So in the third decade of 16th century, this literary form came to England, powered by Thomas White and Henry Howard from Italy. So Surrey composed 40 sonnets and 96 sonnets were written by Thomas White, and these sonnets were modeled on Petrarchan's sonnet, but with a change, or we can say twist, in rhyme scheme of sestet from CDE to CDDCEE. Means instead of using two tercet, Surrey uses one quatrain and one couplet, and these sonnets were published in Total's Miscellany in 1557. So in Italian sonnet there are two quatrains in octave and two tercet or sometimes three couplets in sestet. So Italian sonnet rhymes as ABBA ABBA CDE CDE, or sometimes it is CD CD. And in English sonnet there are three quatrains and one couplet, and English sonnet rhymes as AB 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 BC BC CD CD E. Now let's discuss about the main contributors of Elizabethan sonnet. First one is Henry Howard, who is known as Earl of Surrey. With the publication of Total's Miscellany, tradition of Elizabethan sonnet begins in England. Henry Howard was associated with Total's Miscellany. His famous sonnets were Renouncing of Love. The lover compares his state to a ship in perilous storm tossed on the sea. That hope unsatisfied into the lover's heart as a prolonged death. Sir Philip Sidney, another important Elizabethan sonneteer, with the publication of Estoppel and Stella, the era of Elizabethan sonnet begins in real terms. In this sonnet sequence, the Lady Stella refers to the Lady Penelope de Brooks, whom poet wanted to marry, but she marries to another rich guy. This sonnet sequence contains 108 sonnets. In all of these sonnets are tender voices of lovelorn heart. Other famous sonnets of Sidney are To the Nightingale, To the Moon, To His Mistress Dog. Next is Edmund Spenser, poet's poet called by Charles Lamb. He is known as his collection of sonnets titled as Amority, which means little love. In this sonnet sequence, he shows his love for his wife Elizabethan Boyle. It contains 89 sonnets, and these sonnets can be divided into three parts. In part 1, sonnet number 1 to 57, there is record of chase of love. In part 2, from sonnet number 58 to 77, poet shows his humbleness at getting success in his adventure. In part 3, from sonnet number 78 to 89, poet's yearning for his beloved who is not present due to some reason. Now, last but not the least, Mr. William Shakespeare, who largely contributed into the development of Elizabethan sonnet. He composed 154 sonnets, and these sonnets can be divided into three parts. Part 1 contains 126 sonnets, and these sonnets are addressed to fair young person. Part 2 contains 9 sonnets, and these sonnets are addressed to the rival poet. And part 3 contains 28 sonnets, and these sonnets are addressed to the dark lady. Sonnets addressed to WH or sonnets addressed to fair youth. In this part, from sonnet number 1 to 25, there is admiration of love. Poet finds entire nature's beauty in the face of his friend. Poet compares love with the food and hunger as well. Love is as necessary for him as food for life. He loves his friend as miser loves his money. The possession of fair youth is more precious than any other material pursuit for the poet. In the sonnet number 17, there is a theme of marriage, and poet urges to fair youth to get married and produce children. In this way, his beauty will be carried on into the next generation. In sonnet number 8, marriage is compared with the musical instrument where father, mother, and son create sweet and pleasant note. In sonnet number 33 to 36, there is a physical context where his friend is locked up in the heart of poet. In the sonnet number 54, he admires beauty of his friend. Sonnet number 55 is based on Horace, ode number 3 and 30. In the sonnet number 92 to 96, he accuses his friend in ironic tone. Instead of all the faults of his friend, he forgives him because for him it is not easy to give him an emotional farewell because he loves him a lot. In the sonnet number 118, he is lovesick over his friend and he confesses his love for him. And here both the friend gives each other notebook to record experiences and their memories. But poet needs no notebook to remember that how much he loves him. Sonnet number 126 is the last sonnet in this sonnet sequence, and in this sonnet he calls him lovely boy. Sonnets addressed to the rival poet. This part contains 9 sonnets, and in these sonnets, poet attacks to the rival poet, and rival poet is referred here as that muse who uses false statements and ornamental language, which shows his lack of sincerity in the love and that makes his writing artificial. And poet says that rival poet is creating nothing but whatever he is writing is stolen ideas from the youth himself. Sonnets addressed to the Dark Lady. Critics believe that the Dark Lady is war spirit. There are many opinions about the real identification of the Dark Lady. Among them, Thomas Tyler believed Mary Piton of Pembroke's mistress as the Dark Lady. She can be the real identification of the Dark Lady. Sonnet number 127 talks about the beauty of the Dark Lady. Poet admires the dark complexion of the lady and especially her black eyes. The Dark Lady is playing piano and poet gets envious of her. He curses her for making his friend his slave. His senses become her servant and he confesses his love for the Dark Lady. Some sonnets based on theme of time and death. Sonnet number 12, poet talks about the vow of time that is merciless. In the sonnet number 116, he talks about the power of love that defeats limitation of time, though time is powerful. In the sonnet number 71 to 74, he anticipates his own death and suggests youth not to mourn over his death. He writes that my pen has virtue, such virtue that it will make you immortal in my verse, which will become your monument.